Today we're talking about accommodating one person's needs and how that might have knock-on effects for the rest of the team. We'll be talking specifically about an art team, but the discussion is relevant to other teams too, particularly teams that rely on, that end up fielding requests from other people in other disciplines. Hi, I'm Jenn Sandercock, and this is Jenn's Generally Good Game Production Advice. I'm a games producer who loves helping teams ship their games on time, on budget, with a happy team. In this advice column, I respond to game developers who are having some sort of issue with their teams. Today's question is a bit of a long one, but here we go. My art team consists of 4 artists, and one of them is the lead. He is great and takes good care of his teammates, maybe too good care. One of the artists is struggling with mental issues. They are sensitive to sound, interruption, changes in plan, and any kind of pressure. To protect this one artist's privacy, the lead has started to keep a very protective profile for the whole team, with the result that the art team is now almost fully secluded and no one dares ask them anything because they think the whole team is overwhelmed when it is in fact only one person. Well, alright, as Star Trek movies have taught me, usually the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, but sometimes the needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many. The issue here is a very sensitive one, since it sounds like one team member is neurodivergent, which is very common within the game development industry. That person is likely very good at their job, but not in the same environment that everybody else on the team needs to be good at their job. We don't want this one person to be called out explicitly to the entire team and made to feel like they're other and that they're a hassle. But we also don't want to lump that person in with everybody else and continue to ignore their needs and have a system that doesn't work well for them. Note that as a producer, you can't just ask your team members, "Are you neurodivergent?" since doing so would possibly make them uncomfortable and invade their personal privacy. However, you can ask people, "What do you want me to know so that I can support you and accommodate your needs better?" Then people can choose to share or not, and it also allows people to share all kinds of different needs that they may have. Now, whether intentionally or unwittingly, it sounds like the art director has implemented a solution that seemed really good initially. That is, seclude the art team so that he can manage what comes in and out of the team. But it does sound like there have been unintentional consequences, and this solution isn't working as well as it could be for the entire team. So to get started on tackling this problem, we usually start by talking to everyone to find out what they think about the current situation. In this case, I'd start with the art director, since they're the one who's already tried solving the problem. So you should ask the art director, are they conscious of what's going on? Do they realize the effect of their actions? Do they think the art team is being more or less effective now? And do they feel like it's negative for the art team to be more secluded? Then you could talk with the individual having issues to find out more about their needs, if that's appropriate. And you can then talk to the whole rest of the team, the artists and the non-artists. Do people like the current situation? Maybe it's not as bad as you think. Maybe it is. What if they don't like it? What parts of it aren't working? So you've got to try to nut out what's happening. In all of these conversations, as you're talking about it, don't be judgmental in how you ask questions. Be genuinely curious. And with all of that talking, your team might already naturally come up with some new solution. And so that might be able to be the one that you can go with. I don't recommend trying to problem solve on the spot, since you're not just solving for one person, you're trying to solve for the entire team. If a solution hasn't naturally come up, then you should do some brainstorming of yourself. I've got a couple of solutions that maybe get to some of the parts, but it's hard to know without knowing the full situation. So if we assume that this is for an in-person team and that noise from other people in the office might be a part of the problem, then perhaps the affected person could work from home some days per week. You can block meetings so that they're all bunched together so that then people aren't constantly interrupted every couple of hours. You can make no meeting times or days that you have regularly within your schedule. You can also try to streamline requests that are going to the art team and integrate that within your sprint cycle. To do this, you would start during sprints. You would have a space where team members can make requests at any time for art requests. And you can put that into a document, database, email, Slack channel, whatever. And then the artist and or producer, somebody needs to monitor this to do some basic filtering to look for high priority issues. If something high priority does come in, then it does still need to get approval from your decision makers like leads, producer, key stakeholders before you can put the art team onto it. But otherwise, most art requests stay on that one list. Then towards the end of the sprint, the art lead will go into that list and do a preliminary pass to collate and triage all of the requests. Then you should have a meeting with all of the leads and production to talk about the priorities for the whole team before you do discipline-specific planning. The art lead will bring up the items that they think are important, other leads bring up their needs. Hopefully there's no new art requests being brought up at this point. And then the creative director will make a call on what are the priorities and what needs to get done. Then when the art director is in the art sprint planning meeting, they can talk through what they want the art team to achieve, and then everybody in all of the art team can discuss and commit to that plan. Number 5, we go back up to number 1 and go back to gathering requests, and you have to make sure you keep it updated and remove all of the requests that have been fulfilled. No matter what solution you end up going with or what comes out, when you do think you've got a decent solution, go back to the most affected parties, which you know from your initial conversation, to see if they want to try this solution. If you don't get agreement, iterate again to try to find some other solution. Once you do get an agreement, let everybody on the team know this is what you're going to try out. Tell people it's a temporary test. And then after that new solution has been in place for long enough for it to succeed or fail, talk to all of the affected parties again and bring this up explicitly to say, hey, that solution that we tried, how's that going for you? That's all we've got time for today. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, this is general advice and it may not be right for you and your team, even if you're the person who asked this question. For me to help better, it needs to be a conversation between you and me and your whole team. And it turns out you can hire me to do just that. Remember to like and subscribe. And if you would like some advice, if you're a game developer, feel free to use my lovely little form here. I love small indie teams or individuals, whatever. Send me your questions. All right.